Hi everybody and welcome back to Kathy's Creative Space. Today I'm going to make the first in a series of cards from one of the suites in the mini catalogue that I've got in front of me. There are so many gorgeous suites in here, I think you'll have trouble choosing just one. But for this month I have chosen just one to show you, and it is the Snowflake Splendor suite on pages 36 and 37. So you can see here that Stampin Up has come out and made several samples for you to work with. And some are very quick to make as well. So, and I'm going to be making 5 cards from this suite. So by the end of the month, you will have 11 different cards that you could make with this suite. And by the time you make all of them, you will find that you are coming up with ideas of your own. So I'm just going to quickly go through with you what is actually in the suite. And the first thing that we have is a Snowflake Splendor designer paper. So you get 2 sheets of each pattern and you get 12 sheets all up. So there's 12 different designs really, because the pages are double-sided. Also included in this beautiful suite is the Snowflake Wishes bundle. Now, I got the whole suite, but if you purchase these together, you do get 10% off your price of what you would pay normally if you bought them individually. So if you're not ready to pay the $165 for the entire suite, that's a good option for you. You could just pick out the Snowflake Wishes bundle and the designer series paper if that's what your interest was. Also included in this suite is the Winter Snow embossing folder. And I just love all the little snowflakes that are on it. I will be using that in another project in a couple of weeks. This is the Balmy Blue Glimmer paper. So this is a gorgeous paper. I'll just grab a spare piece here. So it's glitter, but it doesn't come off. See? I've got ink on my fingers but no glitter. So it's such a great product. You do get 2 sheets. It's 12 by 12. It's white on one side, glitter on the other. But it's definitely a fantastic product to have in your arsenal, and I will also be using that in another card. Also here is the blue adhesive stacked backed gems. They are so cute. You definitely don't want to miss out on those. And we have the Snowflake Splendor ribbon, which I'm planning on using in this card as well. So I'll just pop that away and let's start working on with the card. Okay, so in the interest of saving some time, I have pre-cut all the pieces that I need for this project. So I've got a piece of 15 centimeters by just under 30 centimeters because I trimmed an A4 sheet of the thick white card. So, and I've scored it twice at 20 centimeters and 10 centimeters. Don't try and do 10 centimeters and turn around and do 10 centimeters because you will find that it doesn't quite work. You'll find that there's a bit of a bulge and you don't want a bulge in your card. I've also cut a piece of the designer series paper, so that's this one. It's got 2 different patterns, but I'm going to stick with this pattern today. I'm going to be using that on the front of the card. So I have this one trimmed to 14.5 by 9.5, just so you get that little border that you can see there. And I will be doing something special on here as well. And I like to do a trifold card because it just gives that little bit of extra dimension. So we'll be decorating one part of this as well as this section. So the inside will have some decoration as well as the outside. Also on the outside, I've got a piece of 13 centimeters by 6, and then I've got this one which is 13.5 centimeters by 6 and 13 centimeters by 6. So you can see how nicely framed it is. and it will pick up some of the blue. So I'm just going to turn this around because it is mostly purple, and then you've got the smaller pieces. I just think it looks nice, but we are going to be doing something here before we go any further. Okay, so what I want to do is adhere this piece to the front of the card. So I'm just going to use our Stampin' Seal, otherwise known as a tape runner, and glue. Okay. A little patch up the top. So just line it up. And stick it down. So what I'm going to do now at about the halfway mark, so I'm just going to line it up on my grid paper here, which you can find in the catalogue and order for yourself. It's got inches on one side and centimetres on the other. So I'm just going to line up so I can see approximate halfway mark. That looks about right to me. So I'm just going to hold it there and flip it over. Now I use a Gemini for all my die cutting and embossing, just because my husband bought me one last Christmas. But Stampin' Up do have their own die cutting and embossing machine, and I have used it and it's fabulous. So I'm going to just use a little bit of washi tape here. It's about halfway. And I'm just going to pop the tape on, mostly so that it covers the cut area on the inside. And I'm just going to pop over to my machine and run it through, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from cutting it out. Can you see what I've done here? I've just cut out part of this snowflake, and you can see the final pieces are just still sitting in here, so I can just take this tape off because we're not going to need this again today. So you're must be thinking, so what are you going to do now? You know, what do we do with all of this? What we're actually going to do is use the Stamparatus. The great thing with the Stamparatus is that you can use multiple plates, and you will know that your stamp is in the exact position that you want it every single time. What I'm going to do is do it this way. So I'm just going to open it up a little bit and hold the card down inside like this, and then I'm going to pop this on here for the moment while I'm just lining up my stamp. And gee, I've made a mess here. Okay, so what we're going to do is line up the stamp in the cutouts. We're going to close it, and when we open it again, we're going to open the card all the way up. Okay, I'll hold it down a little bit. So this stamp, now that we're going to ink it up, is going to show up on this fold. So I'm using Balmy Blue. It's one of the colours that was recommended for this suite. And I'm just going to gently kiss it with ink. You don't have to press down too hard. I'll just pop this out of the way, and we're just going to pop the stamp down, and it's going to be just on the one side, of course. Now here you can see that it hasn't been a 100% perfect inking, so I'm just going to ink it up again. And this is what the great thing about having this tool, Stamparatus. You can do it again and again and again, and it doesn't really affect. You're not going to make a mess with it. That's what I'm trying to say. So there we go. So it's not 100% perfect, but I think it gives it a little bit of something. So we can take this off for now, and we don't want them doing that. So now when you open the card, you'll see this piece here. And I think it's really quite effective. It's not 100% perfect, but that's what art is. So what we can do now is just open this piece up, and using a smaller stamp on the block, we can start doing some extra decorating. So I really only just kissed the stamp onto the ink, and definitely, you know, they don't all fall in a straight line, do they? What I'm going to do is actually ink this one up again. So I'll just give it a little clean. I just keep some baby wipes next to me when I'm doing a project like this and want to be quite quick. And I'm going to pop it on the back of this block. So if you don't have a Stamparatus, you could line it up on a block, but I just would, for me, I prefer to use the Stamparatus to know it's exactly in the position I want it. So there we go. And of course there are numerous different size and shaped snowflakes. So let's have a look. Let's pop another snowflake in. Maybe a mid-size one. So you can see there are so many different little snowflakes in this set. So I'm going to use, let's see, we've got one like that. So I might go with this one. This one looks different to the others. So once again, I'm just going to pop it on here and ink it up. There we go. And if you want to get a couple more on the edges like this, there you go. I think that looks very pretty. So now when your card recipient opens the card out of the envelope, they see this very unusual cutout, and then they can open it up and open it up again. I did say I was going to do a little bit of decorating on the inside of this one, so I'm just going to ink up my snowflakes again. And a couple of little ones. So now this is why I use the Stamparatus. That's okay. There we go. So it's a little bit darker in one area, but I didn't make too much of a mess of it. Also on the inside here, we are going to want a sentiment, and I did have one out. Here we go. So I'm going to pop the sentiment on here now. I'll just give it a bit of a clean. And I'm going to use the balmy blue still. So you can see here, it says, "Our friendship is one of a kind." So you could also use this as a birthday card if you have someone who's having a birthday in winter. And this set also has a Happy Hanukkah sentiment. So it's quite inclusive of, you know, everybody. So it can be used by anybody for anybody. And I'm using it for Christmas cards at the moment. But still, our friendship is one of a kind. You can give a really pleasant gift to your bestie and give them this card. But of course, choose whatever sentiment you would like to use on it. Now, when it comes to using the Stamparatus, make sure you have your magnets a decent width apart, because if they smack together, they're going to snap. Okay, so now we're going to work on the front of the card, and this is where these two pieces come in. Now that one is a tiny bit short, so I'm just going to make another one. So I'll just check the measurements on that again. So I did 13.5. It should be 14.5. So this is our trimmer, and it has two blades, one for embossing and one for scoring. One for scoring and one for cutting. Let's check this width as well. 6.5, that's right. So you've got the darker blade is for cutting, and then this lighter blade is for embossing. Okay, I'm happier with that. So this is going to sit half a centimetre off. Isn't it always the way when you're trying to do something on video and you have nearly everything feels like it's going wrong? Okay, so that should actually be 14 centimetres. Okay. And I'm just going to have a look at the sides, and I want anything that's not quite 100% how you'd like it to be face down. And let's see, oh, this one's too small now too. So we can trim down this piece. So we had 14 centimetres, so this one needs to be 13.5. So I'm just going to line it up, make sure it's butting up against the top edge there, and there we go. That's much better. So what we're going to do now is use the stamps again, and I might get another. So I'm not actually going to, I'll use this one. I'm not actually going to put a sentiment on the front of this card. The sentiment is already on the inside. So let's see how these look. It's a piece of scrap. There we go. They're very cute, aren't they? So I'm very lightly touching them to the ink pad, and what I'll do is just turn them around, and so it's once it's finished being covered, you'll have a really nice pattern. So I'm just going to do that now. This is the piece that's going on the card. That was a scrap. So let's just start at the top. And as you can see, I'm rotating it all the time. just keep wiping any extra ink. So sometimes you get extra ink on the block because by pressing too hard. So I just wanted to make sure that none of that extra ink actually gets on my card. Now you can see here we've got a couple of empty spots. So I'm going to clean off the block and the stamp, and this time I'm just going to ink up part of the stamp. Just like that. And then we can throw those in. So it's just a light kiss on the card and a light kiss into the ink. Another quick clean, and this time I'm just going to pop this end into the ink. It's just a couple more bits. So there we go, that's all stamped up now. So what I'm going to use now is some of the ribbon. What I'm going to do first is pop a little bit of the tape on the back, about halfway up, for the ribbon to stick to. And I'm just going to run a piece of the ribbon across the back. This is just so it stays in place. And I'm just going to do a knot. So this is a really pretty ribbon though, isn't it? It's got all that sparkle in it. And I think it really lifts the card. Let's grab my ribbon scissors. So I'm going to trim it there, pop this out of the way again, and here. So now we just adhere this piece to the blue. As I said before, it's balmy blue. And then we're going to attach it to the card. So we've got these lovely big snowflakes, and then we go down to a smaller, and I really just think it looks fabulous. So same as before. If you're uncomfortable using tape runner, we do have rolls of tape that you could use instead. Just make sure there's none over the edge, and we're going to line this up. There we go. So there's your card. It's finally finished. So you can see where it's lifting the blue from the designer series paper. And then when you open up, there's some snowflakes, and again more snowflakes. So you've got lots of space to write a note to your friend. And yeah, I think that one's really quite lovely. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will be making another card from this suite next week, so tune in to watch that. Subscribe and get the ringing bell, and that way you'll know when the new video comes up. So thanks for sticking with me this far, and I'll see you next week with a new card.